Water does not argue with the rock. It does not shout at the mountain to move. It flows, patient, relentless, bending where it must, pressing where it can, wearing down what once seemed immovable. And yet, water can also become the storm, the flood, the unstoppable wave that reshapes the earth in an instant. Fire does not ask permission to burn. It takes what it touches and transforms it forever. Steel becomes stronger in its heat, wood becomes ash, darkness becomes light. Fire can be the gentle warmth that sustains life or the consuming force that devours weakness. To master life, you must learn to be both. To flow like water when the path demands patience and adaptability. To conquer like fire when the moment demands decisive, unstoppable action. Napoleon Hill understood this balance long before the words emotional intelligence or resilience became popular. He wrote of a mind so trained, so disciplined, that it could adjust instantly to the tides of circumstance, not by chance but by choice. And then, when the opening came, it would strike with the full, concentrated power of a lifetime's preparation. The weak swing blindly at life, hoping to hit something. The master waits, moves with precision, and lands the strike that changes everything. Think of the great river, quiet, calm on the surface, yet carrying the strength to carve canyons over centuries. Think of the flame, small enough to light a single candle, fierce enough to consume a forest. Your life demands both, but here's the truth. Most people are all water and no fire, or all fire and no water. They are endlessly flexible but never decisive, or endlessly aggressive but incapable of patience. They mistake movement for progress, urgency for importance, or stillness for weakness. To truly rise, you must know when to flow and when to burn. And that begins with the mind. Your mind is the riverbed through which your life will flow. If it is narrow, shallow, full of debris, your potential will always be choked. If it is deep, clear, and guided with intention, your potential becomes a force that can carry you farther than the world believes possible. That depth comes from belief, not the shallow, feel-good belief that vanishes at the first setback, but the kind of belief forged in the fires of proof. Belief that says, I have survived worse than this. I have built myself for this. I will outlast this. Look at Abraham Lincoln. In his youth, he lost elections, businesses, and loved ones each. Loss was a storm testing the riverbanks of his character. But instead of letting the floods wash him away, he let them carve him deeper. When the Civil War came, the kind of storm that could drown a nation, Lincoln's depth allowed him to navigate it without losing himself. Belief alone is not enough. Belief is the still pool. Clarity is the channel that directs it. Without clarity, your energy spills into every direction, evaporating before it ever reaches its destination. Clarity cuts through distraction like a blade through silk. It tells you what is yours to do and what is not. Henry Ford did not dream vaguely of being successful. He saw, in detail, a future where ordinary families could own an automobile. That vision shaped every choice, every conversation, every risk. When obstacles arose, they were not reasons to stop. They were simply bends in the river. This is where purpose enters. Purpose is the gravitational pull that keeps the river flowing toward the sea. It is the spark that keeps the fire burning through the night. Without purpose, you are a puddle that evaporates in the sun or a flame that burns itself out on the first log. Purpose will make you do the things you do not want to do. It will drag you out of bed before dawn. It will keep you at the desk, at the gym, at the forge, long after comfort has tried to seduce you. And discipline is how purpose is kept alive. It is the dam that stores the water until the right moment, the hearth that contains the fire so it does not burn the house down. Most people let their fire burn uncontrolled. They start fast, bright, and loud, then collapse into smoke at the first gust of wind. Others keep their water in constant motion, spilling it over every rock, every distraction, never holding enough in one place to create real force. Discipline means you decide. You decide when to move and when to wait. You decide when to speak and when to be silent. You decide when to strike and when to observe. This is what separates the masters from the masses. Thomas Edison understood the balance. His patience, his willingness to try and fail over 1,000 times was water. His unrelenting drive to find the answer, to bring the light bulb into reality no matter the cost, was fire. Both were required. Without water, he would have burned out long before success. Without fire, he would have drifted in endless experiments with no result. To live this way requires you to master not only your actions, but your emotions. The undisciplined mind is a river in flood season, destructive, unpredictable, leaving wreckage in its wake. The undisciplined temper is a wildfire, burning bridges, scorching opportunities, turning allies into enemies. When you can hold your calm in chaos, you flow like water. When you can unleash your will at the perfect moment, you conquer like fire. This balance will test you. There will be seasons where life demands you wait longer than you thought you could bear. There will be moments where you must act faster than you thought you could prepare. The self-mastered adapt to both without losing their center. Walt Disney faced years of rejection before a single film studio believed in his vision. Water carried him through those years. Patience, persistence, adaptability. But when the opportunity came, he moved with the speed and ferocity of fire, building an empire. When pressure comes, most people break because they have lived too long at the surface of themselves. They have never gone deep enough to discover the unshakable bedrock beneath the shifting tides. They live only in reaction, and reaction is the domain of the unprepared. Mastery is not born in moments of comfort. It is forged in the heat of the test, in the weight of the resistance, in the space where you have every reason to quit. And you choose not to. Water under pressure becomes steam, a force capable of moving engines, powering ships, driving industry. Fire under control becomes focused heat, capable of bending steel, shaping glass, creating life from cold darkness. The self-mastered know how to use pressure. They do not waste it as a reason for complaint, they harness it as fuel. Pressure is proof that you are in the arena, not watching from the stands. Pressure is the privilege of those who have chosen to engage fully with their own potential. Napoleon Hill wrote that every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. The masses hear this as poetry, the masters hear it as a plan. They look for the seed even while the storm is still raging. And because they are looking, they find it. Resilience is the result of this way of seeing. It is not some mystical trait you are born with. It is a skill you build by refusing to stay down. Every time you rise after a setback, you reinforce the identity of someone who cannot be kept under. Look at Henry Ford. He failed multiple businesses before building the Model T. Each failure was a flood threatening to wash him away, but instead of resisting the water, he learned to swim in it, to let it carry him toward better ideas, better systems, better execution. Resilience without adaptability, however, becomes stubbornness. And stubbornness can sink a ship faster than any storm. Adaptability is the art of flowing without losing direction. It is the ability to pivot without abandoning purpose. When a river meets a boulder, it does not stop, it finds a way around. When a flame meets a barrier, it searches for air, finds a crack, and moves forward. In 1914, when Edison's laboratory burned to the ground, he didn't weep over the ashes. He famously told his son, "Go get your mother and all her friends." They'll never see a fire like this again. Within weeks, he was back to work. That is adaptability fused with resilience, a refusal to be defined by loss, a decision to define yourself by what comes next, but you cannot adapt in chaos if you cannot control yourself in chaos. Emotional control is the heartbeat of this philosophy. Think of the general in the heat of battle. Soldiers look to him not for panic, not for unfiltered emotion, but for clarity. If his voice shakes, there will shakes. If his hands tremble, their courage trembles. The same is true of you, the people who rely on you. Family, partners, employees, clients, take their cue from your steadiness. To master yourself emotionally is to become the calm in every storm. Not cold, not detached, but unshaken. You feel everything, but you are ruled by nothing. This is where the water and the fire meet. Water cools the heat of reckless impulse. Fire fuels decisive movement when hesitation threatens to freeze you. Together, they make you both patient and fierce, adaptable and relentless. And here is a truth the unmastered will never understand. Patience is not passivity. To wait with intention is one of the most aggressive things you can do. It is the mark of someone who trusts their preparation so deeply that they refuse to waste their strike on the wrong moment. Predators in the wild understand this instinctively. The eagle does not flap aimlessly after prey. It circles, it studies, it waits for the exact moment when speed will mean certainty. Then it moves with such precision that the prey never sees it coming. You must become that precise. Your fire must be ready to ignite without hesitation, but your water must keep you from striking too soon. This balance is not easy to keep. There will be moments when everything in you screams to move, but wisdom says, wait. There will be moments when fear tells you to hold back, but courage says, now. The self-mastered listen beyond those voices. They act from alignment, not from impulse. Walt Disney's empire was not built in a single leap. It was built in stages, each one timed with the patience of water and the force of fire. Years of quiet animation work before Mickey Mouse, years of building credibility before Disneyland. And when the door opened, he stepped through with the full force of a vision no one could stop. This is the rhythm you must train into your life. It is not a trick. It is not a hack. It is a way of being, the way water finds its way and fire makes its way. Day by day, you deepen the river of your mind with study, reflection, clarity. Day by day, you feed the flame of your purpose with action, discipline, persistence, and when the moment comes, the water carries you and the fire propels you. The result is not just achievement, it is transformation. You stop living like someone at the mercy of the world and start moving like someone who shapes it. You no longer see obstacles as walls. You see them as opportunities to choose which force to use. That is when life becomes a different game entirely. The day will come when you will look back and realize that every victory you have ever won began not with the world bending to you, but with you bending to yourself. You learn to hold your own mind in your hands like a sculptor holds clay, shaping it, refining it, refusing to let it harden into mediocrity. That is the unglamorous truth of mastery. It is not about dominating others. It is about dominating the impulses that would keep you small. It is about silencing the whisper that says you can't and amplifying the one that says do it anyway. It is about walking into rooms where you are unrecognized, underqualified, underestimated, and refusing to leave with anything less than growth. When you master yourself, you do not fear discomfort. You invite it. You understand that comfort is the slow rot of ambition. It dulls the edge, blunts the hunger, and lulls you into thinking tomorrow will be easier. It won't. Tomorrow will only favor you if you sharpen yourself today. Every day is a proving ground. Not to the world, but to yourself. Can you command yourself when no one is watching? Can you hold the line when fatigue whispers its lies? Can you persist when the applause is gone, when the path is dark, when the only fuel left is the belief you planted in your own chest? This is where the ordinary break and the extraordinary rise. The ordinary explain their lack of progress with excuses, stories, and blame. The extraordinary take ownership of every outcome because they know ownership is power. When you own your choices, you own your results. And when you own your results, you can change them. The powerless are those who believe life is happening. To them, the powerful are those who believe life is happening through them. This shift changes everything. When you see yourself as the cause, not the effect, you stop waiting for the world to hand you what you want. You start creating it brick by brick, day by day, win by quiet win. And as you do, the world begins to see you differently. Not because you've explained yourself into their respect, but because you have become undeniable. Respect flows to those who don't chase it, to those who embody it. Think of the oak tree. It does not beg the forest to notice it. It grows. Year after year, ring after ring, it digs deeper, reaches higher. Storms come, branches break, but still it stands. And in time, even the wind moves around it. You are that tree. Every act of discipline is a new root. Every choice aligned with your vision is a new ring. Every moment you endure without losing yourself is another inch toward the sun. And here's the part they won't tell you. When you truly master yourself, winning becomes almost inevitable. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because you have removed your greatest enemy, your own inconsistency. You have taken away the sabotage. You have stripped away the hesitation. You have replaced the fragile mood with the uncheckable habit. At that point, the world is no longer something to conquer. It is simply something to navigate. Obstacles become detours, setbacks become recalculations. Victories become fuel, not finish lines. You no longer live in the constant hunger for validation. You live in the constant hunger for expansion, and expansion is infinite. It has no ceiling, no wall, no limit but the ones you impose. This is why the richest, most powerful, most influential people in history often still work as if they are beginning, because mastery is not a destination. It is a way of being. Carnegie never stopped learning. Edison never stopped inventing. Disney never stopped imagining. They were not driven only by the need to prove themselves. They were driven by the need to keep becoming themselves, and that is the ultimate truth of this philosophy. The world you master will never be bigger than the self you master first. So, what does it mean for you, here, now? It means you stop outsourcing your power. It means you stop explaining away your lack of action. It means you stop allowing the tides of other people's opinions to steer your ship. You will be doubted. You will be criticized. You will be misunderstood. That is the tax you pay for building a life on your own terms. Pay it gladly. Because the alternative, the life of the unmastered, is far more expensive. It will cost you your dreams. It will cost you your potential. It will cost you the respect you have for yourself when you look in the mirror. When you walk the road of mastery, you walk into storms with your head high. You endure the winds because you know the roots you've built can handle them. You face the mountain because you know your legs have climbed higher before. You meet the challenge because you know the only thing greater than the obstacle is the version of yourself that will rise after it. One day, someone will ask you how you did it, how you built what you built, how you lived, how you achieved what they thought impossible. You will not give them a lecture. You will not try to compress years of battle into a sentence. You will smile, not from arrogance, but from the quiet knowing that the answer was never in the words. It was in the work. It was in the choice, every day, to command yourself when no one else could. It was in the decision to master yourself so completely that the world had no choice but to follow. And if they are wise, they will understand the truth behind your silence. When you master yourself, you master the world.